in this video presentation of ours.
In the previous lessons that we had in our module, we have learned basically everything about obligations. What is obligation, how it is created, and what are its types. These are just some of the things that we have known about obligations throughout our previous discussions. For this lesson, we are going to be tackling about the extinguishment of obligation. As stated in Article 1231, obligations, nevertheless, are not forever. They can be extinguished. This article enumerates only 6 of the many ways by which an obligation may be extinguished. These 6 ways are payment or performance, loss, consummation or omission, confusion, compensation, and lastly, novation.
How do we know if an obligation is extinguished? So, an obligation is extinguished if the creditor accepts instead of performance than agreed upon. If the debtor, for the purpose of satisfying the creditor, assumes a new obligations towards him, it's not to be presumed, in case of doubt, that he assumes the obligation instead of performance.
For example, you are an employer, and as an employer, you have employees or workers. Because you are an employer, it is your obligation to pay your people the right amount of salary or wage for their work. The act of paying them is a good way for you to extinguish your obligation to your employees. Another good example of obligation extinguishment is in taxation. As we all know, here in our country, all residents who are not considered as a minimum wage earner has the obligation to pay a certain amount of tax suitable to how much we earn. In order for us to extinguish our tax obligation, we must have to pay the exact amount of tax we are obliged to pay. So to sum it all up, extinguishment of obligation is mainly about ways people could take care of their obligations. Simple as that. By the way, the section of extinguishment of obligation covers 6 other subsections, which our group would be giving our thoughts and understanding about them.
Lesson 4. Extinguishment of Obligation. Subsection 1. Article 1254. When the payment cannot be applied in accordance with the preceding rules or if application cannot be incurred from other circumstances, the debt which is more onerous to the debtor among those due shall be deemed to have been satisfied. If the debts due are the same nature and burden, the payment shall be applied to all of them proportionately. So, this is what is saying that by operation of law.
In the Article 1252, he who has various debts of the same kind in favor of one and the same creditors may declare at the time of making the payment to which of them the same must be applied. Application of payment is the designation of the debts to which should be applied the payment made a debtor who has various debts of the same kind in favor of one and the same creditor. So, there is a various steps na pinag-uusapan dito kasi kung walang multiple of various debts or pinag-uusapan o pag-uusapan, so walang application of payments or kung isa lang ang utang ng isang tao, there is no application of payments.
Subsection 2. Payment procession is a unique type of payment. It is the assignment or abandonment of all the debtor's assets to his creditors with the purpose of allowing them to liquidate the assets and apply the revenues to the repayment of their debt. This is very common to all Filipinos. If they cannot pay the debt with cash or with money, the creditors will give the property of the debtor instead. An example of property are a house, a car, or luxury, jewelry, or anything that has value. Requisites. Number 1. Plurality of debt. Partial of relative insolvency of the debtor. 3. Acceptance of cession by the creditors. Kind of cession: contractual. Number 2, judicial.
Subsection 3, Tender of payment and consignation. Tender of payment is the act on the part of the debtor of offering to favor the thing or amount due. The debtor must show that he has the thing or money to be delivered at the time of offer.
The value of the currency at the time of the establishment of the obligation shall be the basis of payment, unless is an agreement to the contract. Payment shall be made in the place designated in the obligation. If the debtor change his domicile in bad faith of after he has incurred in the delay, the additional expenses shall be borne by him. Example: payment means not only the delivery of money but also the performance in other manner of the obligation.
Nga sitwasyon, mao nga ang utang kinahanglan nga bayaran sa paghatag sa interes sa pagbayad tungod kay ang kwarta kung dili mabayaran, ang interes utaan hangtod ang balas anon sa pagbayad isut matuman.
Okay, now we're going to discuss about novation, how obligations are modified. There are 3 obligations modified by changing their object or principal condition, substituting the person of the debtor, and subrogating a third person in the rights of the creditor. So for the number 1, changing their object or principal condition. Example: Simon agreed to deliver to me a car. Later, they enter into another contract whereby instead of Simon delivering a car, he would deliver 10 air conditioners. So, for the obligation that to deliver a car is extinguished by the obligation may involve the principal terms of the obligation. Okay, for the number 2, substituting the person of the debtor. So, example, if after the constitution of the obligation, both parties agree that Cathy will substitute for Simon or that Danny will be subrogated in the rights of the bid. So, there is a personal division. In this case, Cathy becomes the new debtor or Danny the new creditor as the case may be. Okay, for the number 3, subrogating a third person in the rights of creditor. So, for example, if the agreement of the parties in that Simon will deliver to Danny the 10 air conditioner instead of Simon delivering a car to Ben, so then there is a
differences between subjective and objective. When we say subjective, it refers to a person, and if objective, it refers to things. Because subjective means making assumptions, making interpretations based on personal opinions without any verifiable facts, and objective means making an unbiased, balanced observation based on facts which can be verified. Example: objective is raining, and subjective, I love the rain. Expressed and implied. An express term in commercial contract is a term that is expressly agreed between the contracting process, while the implied terms are terms implied into commercial contracts by the courts because the terms hasn't been expressed